Manufacturers often tell us their cars don't have any competitors, trying to persuade us that their babies are so much better than the competition that there's no contest. But, with the Rolls-Royce Phantom, it's true. Anyone rich enough to buy the new Phantom could have a Bentley Mulsanne instead. Or a Mercedes-Maybach S-Class, if they didn't mind the snide comments from fellow attendees at the next Bilderberg Conference. But to describe such alternatives as rivals misses the point, suggesting an either-or choice that just doesn't exist in the stratosphere where ultra-high net worth individuals hang out, people with access to more than $30 million US in liquid assets. These are guys who can scratch any itch the moment they have it, and buy anything they want, whether a car, a private jet or a work of art. Appropriately, the Phantom is a combination of all three. Yet, with a few notable exceptions, the ultra-wealthy aren't stupid. They are happy to pay, but demand the best. According to Rolls-Royce CEO Torsten Müller-Ötvös, the vast majority of the company's customers have made their fortunes rather than inheriting them, 80% running their own companies. These are people who know the value of things, which is why so much effort has been spent on making the new Phantom vastly better than the previous one. Rolls has been using the Phantom name since 1925, but there have been some long gaps between some of the generations. The new 8th gen model, which we're instructed to refer to as the Phantom 8, as if it's a monarch, is relatively unusual in that it directly replaces the previous Phantom, which was the first new-era Rolls-Royce developed under BMW's ownership, and launched as long ago as 2003. The fact the old Duchess was still selling strongly after 14 years explains why much about the new car carries on where its predecessor left off. Existing owners certainly aren't going to be scared off by any radical changes. The design has been softened very slightly, with less angular styling, but it's still big on shock and awe, especially in some of the eye-catching two-tone hues the company had chosen for most of the cars taken to the launch in Switzerland. It's not got the visual menace of its predecessor, but it's still an imposing thing. Overall dimensions have actually decreased slightly, but even in standard wheelbase form the Phantom is an imposing 5,762 mm in length, with its 1,646 mm height rivaling smaller SUVs. Underneath sits an all-new platform, Rolls-Royce's own and unrelated to the BMW-derived architecture that sits under the company's lesser models. This will go on to underpin all of Rolls' future models, including the production version of the Project Cullinan SUV, but we're assured the Phantom will continue to sit at the top of the pile. While the new platform, which Rolls-Royce calls the architecture of luxury, uses aluminium, this has been chosen to add strength rather than reduce weight. And, while the new Phantom's body shell is lighter than its predecessors, total curb weight has barely changed thanks to more standard equipment and a substantial increase in sound insulation. Our first experience is in the back of the extended wheelbase version, 220 mm longer than the standard car. Rolls reckons that 4 out of 5 Phantom buyers will take the wheel at least occasionally, but the majority will also have a chauffeur on call, and with the EWB likely to only be experienced from the back seat. It's properly special back here, accessed through a rear-hinged door and with ankle-deep carpeting, wood and leather covering every other non-opaque surface and with supremely comfortable multi-adjustable seats. Our test car also had a refrigerated compartment in the center console containing 2 clip-in glasses and a drinks carafe, although sadly empty. The rear seat is also carefully positioned to have a good view of the dashboard, where the passenger side incorporates a glass panel. Behind this, buyers can choose to put their own uniquely commissioned artwork, with Rolls happy to hook them up with artists working in everything from oil colors to textiles. Müller-Ötvös reckons that a well-chosen piece by an up-and-coming artist might ultimately become worth more than the car enclosing it. Once underway, the first thing that strikes from the rear seat is the absence of sensation. There's a great view out, and the reaction of pedestrians and other road users as they catch sight of the land yacht provides plenty of entertainment. But distraction from inside the cabin is minimal, unless you want it. The Phantom is almost freakishly quiet, thanks to its combination of double glazing, around 130 kilograms of acoustic insulation and tires containing noise-canceling foam. If you suffer from tinnitus, then a gentle cruise in the back of a Phantom won't create enough background volume to drown it out. Even at a faster clip on the Swiss autoroute, the twin-turbocharged V12 engine only produces the faintest of hums from the front. According to RR engineering boss Philip Cohn, the Phantom has the quietest cabin of any car in the world, a 5 decibels reduction in volume over its already quiet predecessor, translating to a 75% drop in perceived volume. There are louder crips. The engine is born to be mild. The Phantom packs a development of the 6.6-liter twin-turbo V12 fitted to lesser rollers, with capacity increased to 6.75 liters. Peak power of 420 kilowatts is identical to the Ghost, but there's more torque, with the peak of 900 Nm available from just 1,700 revolutions per minute and representing a 100% improvement on what the Atmo 12 in the previous Phantom could muster at the same speed. Under very gentle throttle applications, it's possible to detect the briefest of pauses as the turbos and engine internals gather momentum, but beyond that it provides effortless surge. The 8-speed ZF Auto has been programmed to keep the engine under 2,500 revolutions per minute whenever it can, and there's more than enough low-down urge to deliver respectably brisk progress without breaking a sweat. You can't tell what revs the motor is pulling anyway, as Rolls persists in fitting a power reserve gauge instead of a proper tacho. The engine note is often muted to near nothingness. The Phantom feels entirely ready to become an EV already, and it takes a hefty shove on the accelerator pedal to produce some pleasantly creamy noises from the sharp end. Even on the few rougher road surfaces that the Swiss Alps threw up, the Phantom's ride quality earns comparison with a big, soft bed. There is movement over bumps, and the Phantom feels its 2,610 kilograms curb weight when crusts leave its mass briefly hanging, but body control is outstanding as the pillowy air springs and adaptive dampers, backed by an optical road reading system at speeds of up to 100 km per hour, work to keep everything serene. Other dynamic tech includes active anti-roll bars to fight cornering, lean and rear wheel steering to improve maneuverability, but these do their work quietly and without calling attention to themselves. The steering is light and short on feedback, but yields impressively accurate front-end responses. Cruising stability is excellent, with the lack of noise meaning it's predictably easy to find yourself going too quickly. 180 km per hour feels like 120 and something with normal quantities of road and wind noise. While no part of the Phantom is sporting, the fundamentals are all good and clearly designed for what it's meant to do. The brake pedal is firm and gives good feedback, making it easy to modulate to a seamless stop. There is no way to manually override the gearbox and choose ratios for it, although a low button integrated into the column-mounted gear change wand switches to a more aggressive map, designed to maximize engine braking. As for the usual battery of sport modes and different dynamic settings, there are precisely none. Similarly, it does without semi-autonomous cruise control or even a stop-start system. It's nice to find a car with such self-confidence. We don't need a full comparo to know that the Phantom remains at the top of its rarefied segment. But it's more than just a plutocratic express. A day spent with it creates the strong impression that it's been engineered to a higher standard than it needed to be for the gentle duty cycle it will mostly be called to perform. That's because it's more than just a range topper, it's also a manifesto for the whole future of the Rolls-Royce brand. It might be set to cost just shy of 7 figures when the first deliveries starting here next year, and more for the extended wheelbase, but buyers aren't going to be feeling shortchanged. It might be possible to make a better luxury car, but we suspect we'll have a long wait before we see one.